Your mind is the most powerful force in the universe, and right now, at this very moment, you are using only a fraction of its incredible potential. What if I told you that every circumstance in your life, every success, every failure, every relationship, every dollar in your bank account was created first in your mind? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will fundamentally transform how you see yourself, your life, and your unlimited capacity to create the reality you truly desire. William Walker Atkinson's groundbreaking work, The Law of the New Thought, isn't just another self-help philosophy. It's a complete revolution in understanding the creative power that lies dormant within you. This isn't about positive thinking alone, it's about mastering the universal laws that govern reality itself and using them deliberately, powerfully, and consistently to build the life you've always dreamed of living. Let me take you on a journey into the deepest truths about consciousness, manifestation, and the extraordinary power you possess right now. The foundation of New Thought philosophy rests on one revolutionary premise: your thoughts are not passive reflections of reality, they are the very building blocks of reality itself. Think about that for a moment. Every single thing you see around you, the chair you're sitting on, the device you're using to listen to this, the building you're in, all of it began as a thought in someone's mind. But it goes deeper, much deeper. Atkinson teaches us that the universe itself is mental in nature. There is an infinite creative intelligence that permeates everything, every atom, every cell, every star in the cosmos. And here's the incredible part: you are not separate from this intelligence. You are an individualized expression of it. You are a creator, whether you realize it or not, whether you accept it or not. The question is not whether you're creating, the question is, what are you creating? Most people go through life unconsciously creating their circumstances through habitual, repetitive thought patterns. They think the same thoughts today that they thought yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. They wonder why their life never changes, why they keep encountering the same problems, the same struggles, the same limitations. But when you understand the law of new thought, you realize that your outer world is nothing but a mirror reflection of your inner world, your habitual mental states, your dominant thoughts, your deeply held beliefs. This is both sobering and exhilarating. Sobering because it means you must take complete responsibility for your life circumstances. No more blaming, no more excuses, no more victim mentality. But exhilarating because it means you have the power to change everything, starting right now, starting with your thoughts. Let's go deeper into what Atkinson calls the mental law of attraction. Now, I know you've probably heard about the law of attraction before, but most people misunderstand it completely. They think it's about wishing for things, or visualizing for 5 minutes a day, or putting pictures on a vision board and then going back to their habitual negative thinking patterns. That's not how it works. The real law of attraction, as Atkinson explains it, is about the vibrational frequency of your consciousness. Every thought carries a specific vibration, a specific frequency. Thoughts of abundance, joy, love, and success vibrate at a high frequency. Thoughts of lack, fear, resentment, and failure vibrate at a low frequency. And here's the key principle: like attracts like. Your thoughts don't just affect your inner state, they literally send out vibrations into the universe that attract circumstances, people, opportunities, and conditions that match their frequency. When you consistently think thoughts of prosperity, you begin to vibrate at the frequency of prosperity, and the universe, which is infinitely responsive, must bring you experiences that match that vibration. This isn't mystical nonsense. This is spiritual law operating with the same precision and predictability as the law of gravity. But here's where most people get stuck. They want prosperity, So they try to think prosperous thoughts for a few minutes, but then they spend the rest of their day thinking about their bills, their debts, their lack, their limitations. What frequency are they really broadcasting? The frequency of lack. And what does the universe bring them? More experiences of lack. You cannot think poverty and manifest prosperity. You cannot think sickness and manifest health. You cannot think failure and manifest success. Your outer world will always, eventually, conform to your inner world. Now, some of you might be thinking, but I've had positive thoughts and nothing changed. Here's what Atkinson wants you to understand. Thinking positive thoughts occasionally is like trying to fill a bucket that has a giant hole in it. If 90% of your thoughts are negative, worried, anxious, and fearful, but 10% are positive and hopeful, which do you think wins? The 90%? This is why Atkinson emphasizes the absolute necessity of monitoring your thoughts, becoming aware of your mental habits, catching yourself in negative thought patterns, and deliberately, consciously, persistently replacing them with thoughts that align with what you want to create. Let me share a story with you to illustrate this principle. There was a man, we'll call him James, who came across new thought teachings when he was at the lowest point of his life. He had lost his job, his savings were depleted, his relationship was falling apart, and he felt completely defeated. He had always considered himself unlucky, always waiting for the other shoe to drop, always expecting things to go wrong. And predictably, they usually did. When James discovered Atkinson's work, something clicked. He realized that he had been programming his mind for failure his entire life. Every time something good happened, he would immediately think about how it probably wouldn't last. Every opportunity that came his way, he would focus on all the ways it could go wrong. He was a master at attracting exactly what he didn't want, because that's where his mental focus lived. So James made a decision. He decided to become a master at directing his thoughts instead of being a slave to them. He started each morning by sitting quietly for 15 minutes, visualizing his life the way he wanted it to be. He saw himself in a fulfilling career, financially abundant, surrounded by loving relationships, feeling confident and capable. But more importantly, throughout the day, every time he caught himself thinking a negative thought, he would stop, acknowledge it, and deliberately replace it with its positive opposite. When he caught himself thinking, "I'll never find a good job," he would immediately replace it with, "The perfect opportunity is coming to me right now." When he worried about money, he would immediately shift to, "I am a magnet for financial abundance. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly." When he felt anxious about his relationship, he would affirm, "I am worthy of deep love and connection." At first, it felt mechanical, even fake. His rational mind resisted. But James persisted. He understood what Atkinson teaches, that you're not trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. You're aligning yourself with a higher truth, the truth of your infinite potential and your connection to unlimited creative power. Within 3 months, James's entire life had transformed. He landed not just a job, but a position that paid significantly more than his previous one and aligned perfectly with his passions. Money that he was owed from years ago unexpectedly came through. His relationship deepened and became more fulfilling than ever before. But here's what was most remarkable. James himself had transformed. He carried himself differently. He spoke differently. He radiated a confidence and positive energy that attracted opportunities and people into his life like a magnet. Did James's thoughts magically create these circumstances out of thin air? Not exactly. What happened was that by changing his mental vibration, he became aware of opportunities that had always been there, but that he had been blind to. He started taking actions that he would have been too fearful or doubtful to take before. He attracted people who resonated with his new energy. His changed thoughts changed his actions. His actions changed his results. and his results reinforced his new thought patterns, creating an upward spiral of success and fulfillment. This is the power of new thought in action. This is what becomes possible when you understand and apply these principles consistently and persistently. Now, let's explore another crucial aspect of Atkinson's teaching, the power of belief. Your beliefs are simply thoughts that you've thought so many times that they've become hardwired into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is extraordinarily powerful. It controls your automatic behaviors, your habitual responses, your emotional reactions, and yes, your ability to manifest your desires. Here's the challenge. Most of your beliefs were formed when you were very young, before you had the critical thinking ability to question them. If you grew up hearing that money doesn't grow on trees, that you have to work hard for every penny, that rich people are greedy, that success requires sacrifice and struggle, then those beliefs lodge themselves deep in your subconscious mind. And even if your conscious mind now desires wealth and success, your subconscious beliefs will sabotage you every single time. Atkinson teaches that you must identify and transform your limiting beliefs if you want to create lasting change. This requires honest self-examination. You must ask yourself, what do I really believe about money? What do I really believe about success? What do I really believe about my own worthiness and capability? What do I really believe about relationships, health, happiness? Many people discover beneath their conscious desires lie deep-seated beliefs that completely contradict what they say they want. They say they want wealth but believe that desiring money is somehow spiritual or wrong. They say they want success but believe they don't deserve it, or that they're not smart enough or talented enough. They say they want love but believe they're unworthy, or that relationships always end in pain. These subconscious beliefs are like an anchor holding your ship in place. You can hoist the sails, you can work the oars, you can pray for favorable winds, but until you pull up that anchor, you're not going anywhere. So how do you change your beliefs? Atkinson provides a clear methodology. First, you must become aware of them. Pay attention to your automatic thoughts, especially in moments of stress or challenge. What's your immediate mental response? That will reveal your true beliefs. Second, you must challenge these beliefs. Where did this belief come from? Is it actually true, or is it just something I accepted without question? What evidence do I have that contradicts this belief? Third, you must consciously install new beliefs through repetition, visualization, and embodiment. This is where affirmations, when used correctly, become incredibly powerful. An affirmation is not just a positive statement you repeat mechanically. A true affirmation is a declaration of a higher truth that you're impressing upon your subconscious mind through repetition, emotion, and conviction. When you affirm, "I am abundant," you're not lying to yourself. If you currently have very little money, you're declaring a spiritual truth, that you are connected to infinite supply, that abundance is your natural state, that you are now opening yourself to receive the prosperity that is already yours. You're reprogramming your subconscious mind to align with this truth rather than with the old programs of lack and limitation. But here's the crucial point. You must feel the affirmation. You must speak it with conviction. You must visualize yourself already living this truth. Your subconscious mind responds to emotion and vivid imagery far more than to mere words. If you're affirming abundance while feeling desperate and fearful, you're sending mixed signals, and the stronger emotional charge will always win. Atkinson emphasizes that this process of mental transformation requires patience and persistence. Your old beliefs didn't form overnight, and they won't disappear overnight. But every time you catch a limiting thought and replace it with an empowering one, every time you practice your affirmations with feeling and conviction, every time you visualize your desired reality with vivid detail and emotion, You're weakening the old neural pathways and strengthening new ones. You're literally rewiring your brain and reprogramming your subconscious mind. And here's something beautiful: the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. At first, it requires conscious effort and discipline, but eventually your new thought patterns become automatic. Positive thinking becomes your default mode. Empowering beliefs become your foundation, and your life transforms to reflect this internal transformation. Let's now explore what Atkinson calls the law of mental demand. This is a fascinating and often overlooked principle. The law of mental demand states that when you make a clear, definite, persistent mental demand upon the universe must respond by supplying what you've demanded. Now, let's be clear about what a mental demand actually is. It's not wishing, it's not hoping, it's not even praying in the traditional sense. A mental demand is a clear, focused, emotionally charged mental statement of what you intend to manifest, coupled with an absolute expectation that it will come to pass, and a willingness to do whatever is required on your part to bring it into being. Think about how you feel when you place an order at a restaurant. You don't sit there hoping the food might come, or wishing it would appear, or wondering if you deserve it. You placed an order, you expect it to be fulfilled, and you wait with confident expectation, knowing that in due time what you ordered will arrive. This is the mental state of a true mental demand. When you make a mental demand upon the universe, you're not begging, you're not pleading, you're declaring. You're saying, "This is what I require, this is what I'm calling into my life, this is what I now claim as mine." And you hold this mental stance with unwavering faith and expectation. But here's where many people miss the mark. They make a mental demand today, and then tomorrow they're back to worrying and doubting and contradicting their demand with opposite thoughts. A true mental demand must be held consistently. You must return to it again and again. You must reinforce it daily, even hourly if necessary, until it manifests in your physical reality. Atkinson teaches that the universe is infinitely abundant and infinitely responsive. There is no shortage of anything in the universe, only in our limited thinking. There is enough wealth for everyone who opens themselves to receive it. There is enough opportunity for everyone who positions themselves to recognize it. There is enough love, health, success, and happiness for every single person on this planet. The only limits are the limits we accept in our own minds. When you make a mental demand, you're essentially tuning your consciousness to a specific frequency, and the universe, operating through the law of attraction, must bring you people, circumstances, ideas, and opportunities that match that frequency. But you must hold the frequency. You must maintain the vibration. You must keep broadcasting the signal clearly and consistently. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say you want to manifest a new career opportunity. A vague wish like, "I hope I can find a better job," is weak and ineffective. A true mental demand sounds more like this: "I now demand and claim the perfect career opportunity that allows me to use my talents fully, serves others meaningfully, provides abundant financial compensation, and brings me deep satisfaction and joy. I know this opportunity exists. I know it is seeking me even as I am seeking it, and I now open myself to receive it with gratitude and expectation." You would then visualize yourself already in this perfect position. You would feel the emotions of fulfillment, excitement, and gratitude. You would act as if it's already yours, not in a delusional way, but in the sense that you carry yourself with the confidence and energy of someone who knows their good is on its way. And you would stay alert for opportunities, synchronicities, intuitive nudges, and inspired ideas that guide you toward this manifestation. This brings us to another critical principle in Atkinson's teaching: the necessity of action. New thought is not about passive wishing or sitting around waiting for the universe to drop things in your lap. It's about aligning your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions with your desired outcome. When you've clearly defined what you want, when you've impressed it upon your subconscious mind through visualization and affirmation, when you've made your mental demand upon the universe, the next step is to act. But not just any action, inspired action. There's a difference between forced action driven by desperation and fear, and inspired action that flows from inner guidance and opportunity. When you're aligned with your desire mentally and emotionally, you'll find that ideas come to you. Opportunities present themselves. You'll meet the right people at the right time. You'll be guided to take certain actions that feel right, that feel aligned. This is the universe responding to your mental demand by illuminating the path forward. Your job is to stay receptive, to listen to that inner voice of intuition, and to act on the guidance you receive. Sometimes the actions will make complete sense. Sometimes they won't make sense until later. But when you're operating from this place of mental alignment and trust, you'll find that doors open, obstacles dissolve, and the path unfolds before you with surprising ease. This doesn't mean you won't face challenges or that everything will be easy, but there's a quality to the challenges you face when you're aligned versus when you're not. When you're aligned, challenges feel like opportunities for growth, temporary obstacles to overcome on your path to success. When you're misaligned, everything feels like a struggle, like you're pushing a boulder uphill, like the universe is against you. The truth is, the universe is never against you. The universe is neutral. It simply reflects back to you the energy you're putting out. When you're aligned with your desires, when your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions are all pointing in the same direction, you create a powerful momentum that attracts your good to you with remarkable speed and ease. Now let's talk about one of the most challenging aspects of this work, maintaining faith in the face of contrary appearances. This is where most people fail. They start applying these principles, they're excited, they're visualizing, they're affirming, they're holding their mental demand. But then days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even months pass, and they don't see the results they want. So what do? They start doubting. They start thinking, maybe this doesn't work, maybe I'm not doing it right, maybe it's just wishful thinking. And in that moment of doubt, they disconnect from the creative power they had been building. They lower their vibration, they contradict their mental demand with opposite thoughts of doubt and fear, and they wonder why nothing manifests. Atkinson is very clear about this. Faith is absolutely essential. Not blind faith, but intelligent faith, based on understanding spiritual law. You must trust that the law works whether you see immediate results or not, just as you trust that a seed planted in the ground will grow even though you can't see anything happening beneath the surface for weeks. This is the test. This is where you prove to yourself and to the universe that you're serious about your desires, that you're not just a dabbler playing around with these ideas when it's convenient, but that you're committed to your vision regardless of temporary circumstances. Remember, your current circumstances are the result of your past thinking. When you change your thinking now, there's a time gap before your new thinking manifests as new circumstances. During this gap, you must hold steady. You must maintain your new thought patterns. You must keep affirming, visualizing, and expecting, even when your physical reality hasn't caught up yet. This is exactly like building a fire. In the beginning, you have to tend it carefully, add fuel consistently, protect the flame from wind and rain. If you get impatient and walk away after 5 minutes because the fire isn't blazing yet, it will die out. But if you persist, if you keep adding fuel, if you protect and nurture that flame, eventually you'll have a roaring fire that sustains itself. Your mental focus is the same way. In the beginning, it requires constant attention and effort to maintain your positive mental stance, especially if you're surrounded by negative circumstances. But if you persist, if you refuse to give up, If you keep returning to your vision again and again, eventually your new thought patterns become automatic, your circumstances begin to shift, and your manifestations begin to appear. And here's something important to understand. Often the universe tests your faith right before your breakthrough. Things may seem to get worse before they get better. Old patterns may intensify one last time. This is not a sign that it's not working. It's often a sign that the old is breaking down to make room for the new. This is the moment to double down on your faith, not to give up. Think of it like a woman in labor. The contractions are most intense right before the birth. If she gives up at that point, she never gets to hold her baby. But if she pushes through that final intensity, the reward is beyond measure. Your manifestations are the same way. The darkest hour is often just before the dawn. Let's explore another profound aspect of Atkinson's teaching, the concept of the one mind. New thought philosophy teaches that there is ultimately only one infinite mind, one universal consciousness, and that all individual minds are connected to and part of this one mind. This has staggering implications. It means that you're not a separate, isolated individual trying to manipulate a foreign universe to give you what you want. You are an integral part of the creative intelligence that underlies all of reality, the power that creates galaxies, that grows trees from seeds, that beats your heart without your conscious effort. This same power flows through you and operates as you when you align with it. This is why your thoughts have creative power. They're not just your little personal thoughts, they're movements within the one mind, and the one mind has infinite power to manifest whatever is held within it with clarity, faith, and persistence. When you understand this, you realize that you're not trying to get something from outside yourself. You're recognizing and claiming what is already yours by divine right. You're not manipulating the universe, you're cooperating with it. You're not imposing your will on reality, you're aligning your individual will with the universal will, which is always toward greater expression, greater expansion, greater good. This is also why visualization and mental imagery are so powerful. When you create a clear mental picture of what you desire, you're not just daydreaming, you're creating a pattern in the one mind. You're essentially providing the blueprint that the creative power will follow to manifest your desire in physical form. Atkinson teaches that the universe is like a vast mental substance that's constantly being molded and shaped by thought. Your persistent thoughts about anything create grooves, channels, patterns in this mental substance, and the substance eventually hardens into physical form as your circumstances and experiences. This is why you must be so careful about what you think about consistently. You're not just passively observing your life, you're actively creating it with every thought. If you constantly think about your problems, you're impressing the pattern of those problems deeper into the mental substance and ensuring they continue. If you redirect your thoughts to solutions, possibilities, and desired outcomes, you begin to impress new patterns that will eventually manifest as improved circumstances. Now, I want to address something that often troubles people when they first encounter these teachings. They think, if my thoughts create my reality, does that mean I've deliberately created all the bad things in my life? Does that mean sick people created their sickness? Does that mean poor people created their poverty? Am I being blamed for everything negative I've experienced? This is a misunderstanding that Atkinson clarifies beautifully. The law of mind is not about blame, it's about empowerment. Yes, your habitual thought patterns shape your life, but many of those patterns were unconsciously adopted from your family, your culture, your early experiences. You didn't consciously choose to think limiting thoughts. You absorbed them before you had the awareness to question them. The point is not to feel guilty about the past, but to take responsibility for the present and the future. Now that you understand how the law works, now that you're aware of the creative power of your thoughts, You have the opportunity and the responsibility to use this power deliberately and consciously. As for people experiencing genuine suffering, illness, or hardship, these teachings don't diminish their pain or suggest it's their fault in a judgmental sense. But these teachings do offer hope and empowerment, the understanding that no matter what you've experienced in the past, no matter what your current circumstances, you have within you the power to change your mental patterns and thereby begin to change your life. Some situations may have complex causes that include factors beyond just individual thought patterns, genetics, environment, collective consciousness, karmic patterns if you believe in such things. The point is not to judge anyone's circumstances, but to recognize that whatever the cause is, you always have the power to improve your situation by working with mental and spiritual law. Atkinson also emphasizes the principle of mental concentration. Your mind is like a lens. When sunlight is diffused, it provides gentle warmth but no real power. But when that same sunlight is focused through a magnifying glass onto a single point, it can start a fire. Your mental energy works the same way. Most people scatter their mental energy in 1,000 different directions. They think about one goal for a moment, then switch to worrying about something else, then get distracted by entertainment, then ruminate on past grievances, then fantasize about something completely different. This diffused mental energy has little creative power. But when you learn to concentrate your mind, to focus your mental energy on a single clear desire or goal for sustained periods, you intensify that energy to the point where it becomes irresistible. It penetrates through obstacles, attracts the necessary resources, and inevitably manifests in your reality. This is why meditation is so valuable, not just for relaxation, but as training for mental concentration. When you practice bringing your wandering mind back to a single point of focus, whether it's your breath, a mantra, or a visualization, you're building your mental muscles. You're developing the ability to direct and sustain your attention at will, which is one of the most valuable skills you can possibly develop. Think about the people who achieve extraordinary things in any field. What do they all have in common? The ability to focus intensely on their goal or craft for extended periods. They don't scatter their energy, they concentrate it. They don't dilute their efforts across multiple conflicting desires, they pour everything into their primary aim. This doesn't mean you can only have one goal in life, but it does mean that at any given moment, you should be clear about what your priority is and give it your full mental attention and energy. Make your mental demand, hold your vision, concentrate your thoughts, feel the emotions of having achieved it, and maintain this focused intensity until it manifests. Atkinson also teaches about the power of the spoken word. This is a principle found in many spiritual traditions, the idea that words carry creative power. In the beginning was the Word, says the Bible, and your words are extensions of your thoughts. They carry your mental energy out into the world with even greater force. This is why you must become conscious of how you speak. Do you constantly complain about your circumstances? Do you speak words of limitation, lack, and impossibility? Do you tell stories about yourself that reinforce your problems and limitations? If so, you're using the creative power of speech against yourself. Conversely, when you speak words of affirmation, possibility, and expectation, when you tell empowering stories about yourself and your life, when you declare what you're creating rather than lamenting what you don't have, you're using the power of as a creative tool. This is the real purpose of affirmations spoken aloud with conviction and feeling. You're literally speaking your desired reality into existence. You're impressing these patterns on your subconscious mind and sending these vibrations out into the universe through the power of sound. But again, it's not about mechanical repetition. It's about speaking with intention, with feeling, with conviction. When you declare, "I am healthy, strong and vibrant," don't just recite the words, feel them in your body. Imagine yourself radiating health and vitality. Let the emotion of wellness fill you. This combination of word, thought, feeling, and imagination is incredibly powerful. And be careful not just about what you say to others, but especially about what you say to yourself in your internal dialogue. Are you your own biggest critic or your own greatest champion? Do you speak to yourself with kindness and encouragement, or with harshness and judgment? Your subconscious mind is always listening, and it accepts what you tell it as true. Start treating yourself like someone you deeply love and want to see succeed. Speak to yourself the way a loving parent speaks to a child, or a devoted coach speaks to an athlete, with encouragement, with belief, with high expectations tempered by compassion. You'll be amazed how this shift in internal dialogue transforms not just how you feel, but what you're able to achieve. Let's talk about another crucial element of manifestation: emotional alignment. Your emotions are not just reactions to your circumstances, they're powerful indicators of your vibrational frequency, and they're also creative forces in their own right. When you feel joyful, grateful, loving, peaceful, excited, you're vibrating at a high frequency that attracts positive experiences. When you feel angry, fearful, resentful, jealous, depressed, you're vibrating at a low frequency that attracts negative experiences. The universe doesn't judge these emotions as good or bad, it simply matches your frequency. This is why feeling good is not just a nice bonus, it's actually a spiritual practice and a manifestation technique. When you feel good, you're in alignment with your desires. When you feel bad, you're out of alignment. It's that simple. Now, this doesn't mean you should suppress negative emotions or pretend you're happy when you're not. Emotions need to be acknowledged and processed, but it does mean that you should make it a priority to find ways to feel better, to shift your emotional state from low vibration to high vibration as much as possible. How do you do this? There are countless techniques. Gratitude is one of the most powerful. When you focus on what you appreciate in your life right now, even if it's just basic things like having shelter, food, or the ability to see and hear, you immediately raise your vibration. You cannot feel genuine gratitude and remain stuck in low vibrational emotions at the same time. Music, movement, nature, laughter, acts of kindness, creative expression, spending time with loved ones, these are all ways to shift your emotional state. The key is to become intentional about managing your emotional energy rather than just reacting to whatever circumstances or thoughts happen to trigger you. And here's something beautiful. When you become skilled at maintaining a high vibrational emotional state, regardless of external circumstances, you become truly powerful. You're no longer at the mercy of life's ups and downs. You're no longer waiting for circumstances to improve before you allow yourself to feel good. You feel good now, and as a result, your circumstances must improve to match your new frequency. This is the great secret that Atkinson emphasizes. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you want prosperity, become prosperity consciousness. If you want love, become love itself. If you want success, embody success in your thoughts, feelings, words, and actions right now, and the outer forms of these things must follow. Let me share another story to illustrate these principles in action. There was a woman named Sarah who had struggled with her weight for decades. She had tried every diet, every exercise program, every weight loss strategy you can imagine. Nothing worked long term. She would lose weight, then gain it all back plus more. She felt trapped in a cycle of failure and self-loathing. When Sarah discovered new thought teachings, she had a realization. She had been approaching weight loss from a place of hatred for her body, disgust with her appearance, and desperation to be different than she was. Every diet was driven by the thought, I'm fat and ugly and unacceptable, and I need to change. She was trying to create health and beauty from a consciousness of self-rejection and inadequacy. Sarah decided to completely reverse her approach. She started by working on loving and accepting her body exactly as it was right now. This was incredibly difficult at first. Years of negative self-talk and cultural conditioning had taught her to see her body as the enemy, but she persisted. Every day, she would stand in front of a mirror and speak words of appreciation to her body. Thank you for carrying me through this life. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for healing cuts and fighting off illnesses. I'm sorry I've been so cruel to you. I commit to treating you with love and respect from now on. She stopped weighing herself. She stopped looking at her body as something that needed to be fixed. Instead, she focused on how she wanted to feel: healthy, energetic, strong, confident, vibrant. She visualized herself feeling this way. She acted as if she already felt this way. She made food choices and movement choices from a place of love rather than punishment. Something remarkable happened. Without obsessing over weight loss, without strict diets or grueling workouts, without weighing herself or counting calories, Sarah's body began to transform. But more importantly, her entire relationship with herself transformed. She discovered a deep well of self-love and self-respect that had been buried under years of criticism and shame. The weight loss was almost secondary to the transformation in her consciousness. She had finally learned what Atkinson teaches, that lasting change always comes from the inside out, never from the outside in. When you change your consciousness, your body and circumstances must eventually conform to match that new consciousness. Within a year, Sarah had naturally released over 50 pounds without ever dieting in the traditional sense. But she would tell you that the real miracle wasn't the weight loss. It was discovering her own worth, her own power, her ability to love herself unconditionally. That was the treasure that no scale could ever measure. This principle applies to every area of life. You cannot build wealth from a consciousness of poverty. You cannot create healthy relationships from a consciousness of unworthiness. You cannot achieve success from a consciousness of inadequacy. You must first cultivate the consciousness of that which you wish to experience, and then the outer form will follow. Atkinson teaches that this is how all lasting transformation occurs. Temporary changes can be forced through willpower and effort, but they won't last because they haven't been rooted in a change of consciousness. But when your consciousness shifts, when your habitual thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns transform, the outer changes happen naturally and they become permanent. Now let's discuss the role of desire in manifestation. Some spiritual teachings tell you to eliminate all desires, that desire is the root of suffering. But New Thought takes a different approach. Atkinson teaches that desire is actually the universe calling you toward greater expression and fulfillment. Your desires are not random or meaningless. They're hints from the universe about what's possible for you, about what you're meant to experience and become. When you feel a deep desire for something, it's because there's a part of you that's ready to evolve and expand through the manifestation and experience of that thing. The problem isn't desire itself, it's attachment to specific forms and timelines, and it's desperate, grasping energy. When you desire something from a place of lack, when you think you need it to be happy or complete, when you're desperate and anxious about getting it, you actually push it away. You're vibrating at the frequency of lack, not abundance. But when you desire something from a place of wholeness, when you're excited about the possibility but you're okay either way, when you trust that what's meant for you will come at the perfect time in the perfect way, then you're vibrating at the frequency that allows your desires to manifest easily. This is what Atkinson calls having your desire without being possessed by it. You hold your vision clearly, you take inspired action toward it, You maintain positive expectation about it, but you don't cling to it desperately. You don't make your happiness conditional on getting it. You're already happy now, and this desire is simply the next exciting adventure in your unfolding journey. This stance of relaxed confidence, of knowing without needing, of desiring without desperately grasping, this is the sweet spot of manifestation. You care enough to focus your energy, but you're detached enough to allow the universe to orchestrate the details. You're driving toward your goal, but you're enjoying the journey. You're committed to your vision, but you're flexible about how it manifests. This brings us to another important teaching, the concept of divine timing and divine order. One of the most frustrating aspects of working with these laws is that things don't always manifest according to your preferred timeline. You might have a clear vision, you're doing all the right things mentally and emotionally, you're taking inspired action, but the manifestation seems delayed. This is where trust becomes essential. Atkinson teaches that there is an intelligence to the universe that knows the perfect timing for everything. Sometimes what you desire requires certain conditions to be in place first, certain lessons to be learned, certain people to be met, certain circumstances to align. The universe sees the bigger picture that you cannot see from your limited perspective. Think of it like ordering something online. Once you place the order, you don't stand by the door, anxiously wondering why it hasn't arrived in 5 minutes. You trust that there's a process, that the order is being prepared, shipped, and will arrive at the appropriate time. You go about your life with confident expectation that what you ordered is on its way. Your mental demands work the same way. Once you've clearly defined what you want, impressed it on your subconscious mind, made your demand upon the universe, and aligned your thoughts and feelings with it, you can trust that the wheels are in motion. Things are happening behind the scenes that you cannot see. Circumstances are arranging themselves. People are being prepared to meet you. Opportunities are being created. Your job during this waiting period is not to anxiously obsess over when it will come, but to maintain your high vibration, continue your positive mental practices, stay alert for guidance and opportunities, and trust in divine timing. This doesn't mean being passive, it means being peacefully active rather than anxiously striving. There's a profound difference between patient persistence and desperate forcing. Patient persistence says, I'm moving toward my goal every day, I trust the process, I know it's coming, and I'm enjoying the journey. Desperate forcing says, why isn't it here yet? I need it now. What's wrong? Maybe it's not working. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Can you feel the different energy of those two states? When you're in patient persistence, you're magnetic. When you're in desperate forcing, you're repelling. The universe responds to your energy, not just your words or even your actions. So cultivate patience combined with persistence. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep holding your vision, but release the anxious need for it to happen on your timeline. Atkinson also addresses what happens when your manifestation arrives in an unexpected form. Sometimes you ask for one thing and receive something even better. Sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need rather than exactly what you thought you wanted. Stay open to this possibility. Don't be so rigid about the specific form that you miss the gift being offered. For example, you might be focused on manifesting a specific job at a specific company, but then a different opportunity comes along that you hadn't considered. If you're too attached to your original vision, you might dismiss this new opportunity without really examining it. But if you're open and flexible, you might discover that this unexpected opportunity is actually a better fit for your true desires and needs. The key is to be clear about the essence of what you want, the feeling you want to experience, the qualities you want in your life, rather than being overly specific about the exact form it must take. If what you really want is financial freedom, creative expression, and contribution to others, there might be many different career paths that could provide that. Don't limit the universe's options by insisting it can only come through one specific door. Now let's explore the concept of mental habits and their transformation. Your habitual patterns of thought are like grooves in a record. They play automatically without conscious effort. And for most people, these grooves were cut long ago and keep playing the same old songs of limitation, fear, and lack. Breaking these patterns requires what Atkinson calls mental vigilance. You must become the watchman at the gate of your mind, observing what thoughts are seeking entrance and consciously choosing which ones to allow in. This is not about thought suppression or denial, it's about conscious selection. When a negative thought arises, you don't have to entertain it, you don't have to follow it down the rabbit hole, you don't have to give it your energy and attention. You can acknowledge it, thank it for trying to protect you, because most negative thoughts come from a misguided attempt at self-protection, and then deliberately choose a different thought. This takes practice. Your mind has been running on autopilot for years, probably decades. It won't submit to your conscious direction immediately. It's like training a puppy. You have to be patient but persistent, gently bringing it back to where you want it to be again and again and again. But here's the wonderful thing. Every time you successfully redirect your thoughts, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. Every time you catch yourself spiraling into worry and deliberately shift to trust, you're rewiring your brain. Every time you replace a thought of lack with a thought of abundance, you're carving new grooves. Eventually, with enough repetition, your new positive thought patterns become just as automatic as your old negative ones were. This is when transformation becomes effortless. You no longer have to consciously work at thinking positive thoughts, it becomes your natural default setting. This is why Atkinson emphasizes that new thought is not just a philosophy to intellectually understand, it's a practice to engage in daily, moment by moment. You're literally retraining your mind, and like any training program, consistency is essential. You wouldn't expect to get physically fit by working out once a month, and you can't expect to transform your consciousness without regular, consistent mental practice. Let's discuss the principle of giving and receiving. Atkinson teaches that the universe operates on a law of circulation. Energy must flow, it cannot remain stagnant. When you dam up the flow in any area of your life, you create blockages that prevent new good from entering. Many people who struggle with lack are actually blocking the flow through their unwillingness to give. They think, I can't give because I don't have enough. I need to get first, then I'll give. But this backwards thinking keeps them stuck in lack. The law says give, and you shall receive. Not receive, and then you'll give. This doesn't mean giving irresponsibly or giving beyond your means. It means being generous in whatever ways you can be right now. If you can't give money, give time. If you can't give time, give attention, kindness, encouragement, appreciation. Give something. When you give freely and joyfully, you send a message to your subconscious mind and to the universe that you're abundant, that you have plenty to share. You shift your consciousness from lack to abundance, and the universe, responding to this frequency, must bring you more abundance to match. But here's the key: give without expectation of receiving from the source you gave to. Don't give as a manipulative strategy to get something back. Give because giving itself is an expression of abundance consciousness. Give because it feels good to contribute. Give because you recognize that everything you have ultimately comes from the infinite source, not from any particular person or situation, so you can afford to be generous. When you give in this spirit, you create a vacuum that the universe must fill. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you release something freely, Space is created for something new to enter. But when you clutch and hoard out of fear, you block the flow and ensure that nothing new can come in. This principle applies to more than just money. Are you hoarding your time, unwilling to help others because you might need that time later? Are you hoarding your knowledge and skills, afraid that if you share what you know, someone might use it to compete with you? Are you hoarding your love, unwilling to be vulnerable because you might get hurt? Wherever you're clutching and contracting out of fear, you're blocking your good. The spiritual principle is to give freely, love openly, share generously, and trust that the universe will always provide for you. This takes courage, especially if you've experienced loss or betrayal. But it's the only way to truly live abundantly. Atkinson also teaches about the importance of maintaining mental poise and emotional equilibrium. Life will always bring circumstances that could potentially disturb your peace, challenges, setbacks, disappointments, conflicts. These are inevitable, but your reaction to these circumstances is entirely within your control. A person who has mastered new thought principles doesn't have a life free from challenges, but they have a consciousness that remains centered and peaceful regardless of outer circumstances. They've learned to observe difficulties without being consumed by them, to experience emotions without being controlled by them, to face setbacks without losing faith in their ultimate success. This mental poise comes from understanding that your true source is within, not outside. Your peace doesn't depend on everything going perfectly, it depends on your connection to the infinite intelligence and power within you. Your confidence doesn't rest on never facing obstacles, it rests on knowing that you have the inner resources to overcome any obstacle. When you develop this kind of mental poise, you become truly powerful. You're no longer reactive, you're responsive. You don't panic when things go wrong, you calmly assess the situation and take appropriate action. You don't collapse when you face rejection or failure, you learn from it and keep moving forward. This is what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who don't. It's not that successful people never face problems or setbacks, it's that they maintain their mental and emotional equilibrium through the ups and downs. They don't allow temporary defeats to become permanent failures in their minds. They see every challenge as temporary and every setback as a setup for a comeback. How do you develop this mental poise? Through practice, through meditation, through deliberately choosing your response rather than reacting automatically, through reminding yourself of spiritual truth when appearances suggest otherwise. It's a muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. Let me share one more story before we bring all these principles together. There was a man named David who had built a successful business over 15 years. Then an economic downturn hit, combined with some poor decisions on his part, and he lost everything. His business collapsed, his savings were depleted, he had to sell his home, his marriage was strained to the breaking point. David was devastated. For months, he wallowed in depression, anger, and self-pity. He blamed the economy, his partners, his luck, everyone and everything except himself. But hitting rock bottom finally forced him to look within. He realized that he had been carrying deeply unconscious beliefs about unworthiness and inevitable failure, beliefs that had been quietly sabotaging him even as he built his business. David immersed himself in new thought teachings. He began the difficult work of examining and transforming his beliefs. He practiced gratitude even when he had almost nothing to be grateful for. He visualized rebuilding his life even though he had no idea how it would happen. He affirmed his worth and capability even though all evidence suggested he was a failure. Most importantly, David made peace with what had happened. He stopped resisting it, stopped fighting it, stopped wishing it hadn't occurred. He accepted it as part of his journey, even thanked it for the lessons it taught him. This acceptance didn't mean resignation, it meant releasing the mental and emotional energy that had been tied up in resentment and regret. Energy he could now redirect toward creating his future. Slowly, opportunities began to appear. A former colleague offered him consulting work. That led to another opportunity, then another. David took each one gratefully, performed excellently, built his reputation back. Within 3 years, he had not only recovered financially, but had far exceeded his previous level of success. But more importantly, David had transformed as a person. He was no longer driven by fear of failure or need to prove himself. He had discovered an inner peace and confidence that didn't depend on external circumstances. He had learned that his worth wasn't determined by his bank account or his business success. He had found his connection to the infinite source within. Years later, David would say that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it forced him to discover who he really was, beyond his accomplishments, beyond his possessions, beyond his roles and titles. It forced him to develop real faith, real mental power, real spiritual understanding. The business success that followed was almost beside the point compared to the inner transformation he underwent. This is the ultimate message of New Thought. It's not really about getting stuff, although you will attract improved circumstances when you apply these principles. It's about discovering your true nature as an individualized expression of infinite creative intelligence. It's about recognizing that you're not a separate, limited, powerless being subject to the whims of fate, but a powerful creator, intimately connected to the source of all that is. When you truly grasp this, when you feel it not just intellectually, but in the depths of your being, everything changes. You stop seeking happiness and fulfillment in external things and discover the wellspring of joy within. You stop trying to manipulate circumstances and start aligning with the creative flow of the universe. You stop feeling like a victim of life and start recognizing yourself as the author of your experience. This is the promise of the law of the New Thought. Not just a better life, though that will come, but a transformed consciousness, an awakened awareness, a discovered power that was always within you but hidden beneath layers of conditioning, limiting beliefs, and unconscious mental habits. Everything we've discussed, the law of attraction, the power of thought, the importance of belief, mental demand, emotional alignment, faith, mental concentration, the spoken word, giving and receiving, mental poise. All of these are facets of one central truth. You are a creative being with unlimited potential, and your thoughts are the tools through which you shape your reality. The question is, what will you create? Will you continue to unconsciously recreate the same patterns from your past? Or will you consciously, deliberately, persistently use your mental power to create something new, something that aligns with your deepest desires and highest potential? The choice is always yours. Every moment is a new opportunity to think a different thought, to choose a different focus, to claim a different reality. You're not bound by your past unless you continue to think the thoughts that created that past. You can begin right now, this very moment, to think thoughts that will create a different future. Start with where you are. Don't wait until conditions are perfect. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you have more knowledge or more resources. Start now with what you have, even if all you have is a desire for something better and a willingness to work with these principles. Begin each day with a few minutes of quiet visualization, seeing yourself as you wish to be, living the life you desire to live, feeling the emotions of your fulfilled desires. Impress these images and feelings deeply into your subconscious mind. Throughout the day, monitor your thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, worrying, doubting, or focusing on what you don't want, gently redirect your attention to what you do want. Replace limiting thoughts with empowering ones. This is the moment-by-moment practice that transforms your consciousness. Speak words of affirmation, possibility, and expectation, both to yourself and to others. Let your words align with your vision rather than contradicting it. Remember that your words carry creative power. Use them wisely. Cultivate feelings of gratitude, joy, love, and enthusiasm as much as possible. These high-vibration emotions are magnetic to positive experiences. Find reasons to feel good now. Don't wait for circumstances to improve before you allow yourself to feel good. Take inspired action when intuition guides you. Don't just sit around visualizing. When you feel prompted to do something, do it. The universe often guides you toward your desires through intuitive nudges. Pay attention and act on them. Give freely and generously in whatever ways you can. Keep the energy of abundance circulating in your life. What you give out must return to you multiplied. Maintain faith even when appearances suggest otherwise. Trust in the invisible process that's working behind the scenes. Know that your good is on its way even when you can't yet see the evidence. And be patient with yourself. You're unlearning a lifetime of conditioning and learning to use your mind in a completely new way. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, times when you forget everything you've learned and fall back into old patterns. This is normal. This is part of the process. What matters is that you keep returning to these principles, keep recommitting to your vision, keep choosing your thoughts consciously. Remember, you're not trying to become something you're not. You're uncovering and expressing what you already are, a powerful, creative, unlimited being. All the power you need is already within you. All the resources you require already exist, either in manifest form or in the infinite potential of the universe. Your job is simply to align your consciousness with what you desire and allow it to come into form. This is not magical thinking. This is spiritual law operating with absolute precision. The same laws that govern the movement of planets, the growth of trees, the beating of your heart. These same laws govern the manifestation of your desires when you work with them consciously and consistently. You are standing at a threshold. Behind you is the old way of thinking, the victim mentality, the belief in limitation, the unconscious creation of unwanted circumstances. Before you is a new way, the conscious use of mental power, the recognition of your creative authority, the deliberate manifestation of your deepest desires. The law of the new thought is not asking you to believe something impossible. It's asking you to recognize what has always been true, that you are a thinking, creating being, that your thoughts have power, that you are connected to infinite intelligence and creative energy, that you can shape your life according to your vision when you understand and apply spiritual law. Will you step across this threshold? Will you commit to this new way of thinking and being? Will you take responsibility for your mental life and use your thoughts deliberately to create, rather than allowing them to run wild creating by default? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Not tomorrow, not when you finish reading this, not when you feel more ready, but right now, in this moment. Decide now that you will master your thoughts. Decide now that you will align with these principles. Decide now that you will claim your power and create the life you truly desire. Because here's the beautiful truth: the universe is waiting for your command. Infinite creative power is available to you right now, awaiting your direction. All possibilities exist in potential form, ready to manifest when you impress them on the creative medium through clear thought, strong feeling, and unwavering faith. You are not a powerless creature at the mercy of circumstances. You are a creative being expressing the infinite intelligence of the universe. You have within you everything you need to create health, wealth, loving relationships, meaningful work, and deep fulfillment. You simply need to recognize this truth, accept it, and begin to act on it. This is the message, the promise, and the invitation of the law of the new thought. It's not just a philosophy to study, it's a way of life to embrace. It's not just information to collect, it's power to apply. It's not just words to read, it's truth to embody. Your life is your canvas, your thoughts are your paintbrush, and the universe is your infinite palette of colours and possibilities. What will you create? What masterpiece will you paint with the creative power of your consciousness? The answer to that question will unfold in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead as you apply these principles consistently and persistently. But the foundation is laid here and now, in your decision to take control of your mental life and use it as the powerful creative tool it was always meant to be. Thank you for taking this journey with me through these profound and life-changing principles. I hope you felt inspired, empowered, and awakened to the incredible potential that lies within you. You have everything you need to transform your life completely. Now go forth and create the reality you desire, one thought at a time. And before you go, if you found value in this deep exploration of the law of the new thought, if these principles resonated with you and sparked something within, I'd be so grateful if you would like and subscribe to Audiobook Library. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to continue bringing you powerful, transformational content like this. Every like, every subscription, every share makes a difference and helps us reach more people who are ready to discover their creative power and transform their lives. Also, please take a moment to explore our video library. We have many other incredible audiobook summaries and teachings on manifestation, consciousness, success principles, and personal transformation. There's a wealth of wisdom waiting for you that can support your journey of growth and awakening. Check out our other videos and continue expanding your understanding of these life-changing principles. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being open to this wisdom. And thank you for taking the courageous step toward conscious creation. Your best life is waiting for you to claim it.